Do you find it hard to explain to friends and family what you now do? Are you wasting valuable time by attempting to figure out challenges on your own? We have created a community for ex-corporate people running their own business who want to live a life they love whilst giving back to their community. This is the Build, Live, Give show. We bring you first-hand experiences of guests going through many of the struggles you face each and every day. We get real with no corporate BS. And now your host, Paul Higgins.
Welcome to the Build, Live, Give podcast. I'm Paul Higgins and I'm your show host. And today we have Scott Ihrig from I Am Creative. Scott started as a lawyer, went to one of the top schools in the US and did it for about 2 years and then realized that it was going to be much the same for the next 50 odd years. And he realized that that wasn't what he wanted to do. So he took a leap of faith, went and started working for City Radio Hall for a 6-week gig that then turned into a wonderful career. So he takes us through that fantastic career and a great business that he's building and scaling. He also talks about some of the challenges of scaling a business and keeping your values and culture aligned. And he's just got some really great inspirational stories here, and he does do a lot to give back. So it's a fantastic episode. So what's been happening in the community? The community continues to grow, and you can find out more at buildlivegive.com. You can also join our free Facebook group at buildlivegive.com. And also, if you're really enjoying this Scott's episode or others, please subscribe. And also, we'd love to get a 5-star review from you. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Scott Ihrig from I Am Creative. But before we dive into today's show, leaving corporate to run your own business can be extremely hard and lonely. You start off in a euphoric state, and at some point you look at your cash flow and start to doubt your abilities. What you learn in corporate doesn't always translate, and you are bombarded every day with new challenges. Learning something yourself is okay, but it can be both timely and costly. Friends and family want to help, but they don't have the specific experiences you need. This is why we created the Build, Live, Give community, a free community with hundreds of people just like you, answering questions and sharing real experiences, and definitely no spam. This, coupled with weekly interviews on hot topics, will help you expedite success. Search for the Build, Live, Give group in Facebook and answer the 3 questions to gain access. Anyway, enough from me. Now it's time to hand you over to one of the BLG members to hear their wonderful journey. Welcome, Scott Ihrig from I Am Creative to the Build, Live, Give show. So, Scott, we're going to get to know lots about you today, and I've really enjoyed getting to know a little bit about you in the introduction. But what I'd love you to do is just start with your backstory for the BLG listeners.
Well, it's great to be here. I used to be a corporate lawyer in the U.S. I spent about 2 years practicing law, and the first year was phenomenal. I was 27 and making more money than I thought anyone should ever make. And then when I hit the second year, I looked around and thought, oh my goodness, this never changes. I'm going to spend the next 50 years of my life literally in the same office doing the same thing, billing my time in 3-minute increments. And I didn't think that that was sustainable for my life and my soul. So I had been involved with a nonprofit theater when I was in law school. And folks who were in that theater were also working professionally for Radio City Music Hall in New York and their Christmas Spectacular with the Radio City Rockettes. So I parlayed some of those connections and left a job for life for a job for 10 weeks where I worked in the hallway of a high school in suburban Chicago, Illinois, helping manage and put on the Radio City Christmas Spectacular starring the Rockettes. I did that for about 6 years, and in the off season, all of the folks who did that event also produced corporate events. So in trying to make my rent and also do something I love, I was able to spend kind of January through September every year producing big corporate events, mainly for technology and pharmaceutical clients. And that's how I led up to the point where I decided I wanted to be doing this for myself and not for someone else.
Brilliant, great. And look, we'll certainly go into more of that, but tell me something, or tell the listeners something about Scott outside of work. So what's something, your family or friends may know about you, but the BLG listeners won't?
So I travel a lot for work and I'm on the road a lot, but my love is my dogs back at home. I don't have any children, but I have two dogs. One is a Great Dane. Her name is Roxy. And I also have a Puggle, which is a pug and a beagle mix. And his name is Toby. Toby's currently on a diet because the vet said that he had gained a little too much weight. And so he complains all the time. All he does is cry next to his bowl wanting another meal.
That's definitely the beagle, I'm assuming.
Yes, that's totally the beagle. He'll eat anything.
Fantastic. And look, I know it's been a little while since you said that's it. I can do it for 1 year, but I can't do it for 50 years. Been in law, but was there anything in particular that was sort of holding you back at that time, or anything that you can remember going through your mind on the difference of staying within the corporate world versus leaving?
I knew that I had to go, right? I knew that something had to change. But I was 28 at the time, maybe 29, and I had just finished law school at a top tier law school in the US and had significant debt, still have significant debt from that experience. And so there was a little bit of what my parents called golden handcuffs, where I had a nice job and it wasn't super hard, although it didn't feed my soul, and it paid really well. And I could just kind of go along with that and would never have to worry about paying rent or meeting my student loan obligation or kind of anything else. That was the hardest part of making the decision to break away and start my own thing.
Yeah, look, and I know, I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Adam from Pencils of Promise, where he's looking to launch a new education system effectively so that you can get a college degree without all the debt. But that seems a massive issue still in the US today. Is that right? Like, just explain, because a lot of our listeners are in the US, but a lot aren't. How does that college system work in the US?
Yeah, so for the, it's changing a little bit now, right? And it was a major topic of discussion, especially in our last presidential election and in the primaries on the Democratic side. But for the most part, in the U.S., public education goes through high school. And if you want to go on to college or graduate school, you're on your own. You can apply for grants or loans. And the federal government, at least when I was going to school many moons ago, did a good job of meeting your financial need, but you still have to pay that back, right? So I'm 20 years out of law school just this year, and I'm still paying law school loans back at a rather large amount. It's my second biggest personal bill every month after rent, and so that burden is shifted to the students. And there's some movement on changing that, at least at state schools throughout the U.S. I know New York just committed to providing free, at least undergraduate education to any New York student in a New York school, and some other movements and other, through other mechanisms to try to lessen that student loan burden and let students kind of be more productive members of society and not just stay in positions that allow them to pay back their loans.
Yeah, look, look. Here in Australia, we do have a system called I don't know what it's called, but when I left, it was called HEX debt, and it was sort of a very small sum proportional to your overall income, and I didn't even think about paying it back, but to still be paying back 20 years post, that's just that's crazy.
I have 10 more years. I'm on a 30-year plan, so yep.
Wow. Okay. Other than that fear, was there any other fears that you had with making the bold move?
At some level, I look back at it and think I was so cavalier in making the move that maybe I was a little too cavalier. It's worked out great for me, and I can't think of more than maybe 2 days over the 18 years since I made the move that I questioned it. But I was a little bit cavalier with it. I had been brought up to believe that if you did something that you loved, the rest would take care of itself somehow. And I've been very lucky and privileged, and the rest has taken care of itself with a lot of hard work and stuff along the way. But I kind of just made the leap because I felt like my soul required it. Staying really wasn't an option.
Excellent. And I suppose the fortune favours the brave, and it certainly has in your situation. But any help, what sort of help have you received along the way?
So my parents owned a small company when I was growing up. And so my father has always been able to give me great advice on managing a company and making choices and how to manage my time. I also, once I was producing events as a freelancer and then decided to start my own company, I had an opportunity to do what was at that time a substantial project. And it required a substantial upfront investment to buy the materials to do this event, close to $100,000. It's not the kind of capital that I had. I was incredibly fortunate that I have a rich uncle, and it's as cliche as that sounds. I reached out to my uncle and was able to get a loan from him, and I've been forever grateful to him that had he not been able to do that, and had I not had that kind of position of privilege to be able to reach out and do that, I might not be where I am today. I was able to pay it back within 2 months because it was just ultimately it was a cash flow issue. Yes. But having access to that and having someone believe in me enough to it's a substantial amount of money to put at risk to your young nephew who's trying to go out and start this venture, and you're not getting kind of any equity in return. It was just a good faith gesture, and that was the biggest kind of financial help that I've received.
Great. And has he followed you? I'm assuming he's continued to follow you in your prospering career?
He has. And he has 2 kids, one of whom just graduated med school last weekend. And we're close and have stayed in touch. And it's great to be able to share my story with him and his family, knowing that they were instrumental in starting it and making the beginning a reality.
That's brilliant. So if I fast forward to the build section, if you walk into an event today or walk into a networking event, and someone says, "Hey Scott, what do you do?" How do you explain that?
I tell them that I'm the CEO of a company that creates live experiences. We design an experience for companies when they want to get people together and achieve a business goal.
Right. And when they say, so give me an example, what would you say?
We're working in essentially 3 different buckets of work. One is internal events. So a company wants to bring together 200 or 2,000 or 10,000 of their associates in order to train them on a new product, launch a campaign, get them all aligned for the year. We will produce that overall experience. That means what's the messaging, what's the environment look like, what's the agenda, what are people doing on a moment-to-moment basis, what are the speakers delivering from the stage, what is the technology in the room that helps tell those stories, which may be audio and visual elements, it may be elements that are app-based, it may be other kind of interactive elements that are created. So there's that internal corporate meeting category that we do. We also do a business to consumer type event. So when one of our clients was launching a global ad campaign, we took that ad campaign to the streets of Chicago, Illinois in the US, and to a shopping mall in Birmingham, England, and also did creative elements for an activation of it in Beijing, China, where we took their message and 3-dimensionalized it into an experience that the public could participate in and see so that they knew what our client was trying to achieve. And the third kind of bucket are what I call social events, not weddings and bar mitzvahs, but doing a large gala for a foundation where the goal is to raise money for whatever their cause is. We do a lot of work in Central Ohio, which is where our home office is, to help regional foundations raise money so that they can fund the work that they're doing.
Brilliant. And look, this is a question a little bit out of left field, but where do you see virtual reality going with events? I know there's been talk of, you'll go to a concert in your lounge room and it'll be, you'll buy X amount of tickets to a show, and that will all be done through virtual reality. What's your view on something like that? How close is it? Will it will it occur? I'd just love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so we have a saying at I'm Creative, it's being together matters, and it's plastered on our walls and it's on the front of our website. And what we really believe is that when you're physically in a space together with other people, it makes a difference. Technology is awesome, and we deploy it every day to create great experiences. Our staff are across the US. We do events in the US and Europe. We have freelancers and other team members who are all around the world who are working to help our product, our services, and our company survive and thrive. But there's a qualitative difference when you're in a room with someone and you're sharing an experience together. As much as I'm a huge fan of the VR technology, and we have a lab it's a room that's painted yellow, so we call it the Yellow Lab, that has a bunch of those kind of toys and tricks in it, and we play with it all the time, and we deploy it on different events. But I don't think that we're anywhere near a world where instead of going to see Lady Gaga live, you just pay to be able to put on your VR headset and it looks like she's singing to you, because it's a qualitatively different experience to be in the same room with her.
Yeah, look, it's true. I remember, and this is going back a while, but I looked after one of the largest supermarket chains in Australia for a particular brand. And I remember back, so this was sort of 96, and they were talking about online shopping and internet. And I remember asking the CEO, like, are you concerned about, this threat of online? Will it completely destroy your business? He said, look, in the next 20 to 30 years, it won't become more than 1 to 2% of my sales. And I thought, oh, really? Like, surely it's going to be more than that. And to this day, it's about that. So I think those sort of changes happen very, very slowly. And I love that slogan, being together matters. Yeah, that's brilliant. And from a revenue point of view, how do you guys make revenue in your business?
We charge more than it costs. It's a lesson I learned early. We are essentially a service business. So we work with our clients to figure out what their business goals are, and then we figure out how much time we think it's going to take us to deliver on the event or experience that they've asked us to create, and we build budgets based on that. And there are things that we buy or rent or deploy for the experiences that we do. We're not really making money on that. We're making money on the professional services that we're providing, in a similar way to lawyers or accountants or doctors make money.
But at this point, I'm assuming you're not charging by the 3-minute increment.
We are not. We which is nice, right? Actually, there are some potential clients who are asking us to bill by the hour for actual hours spent, and there's just something almost primal in me that's adverse to that, because so much time gets spent just tracking the time that it feels unproductive, and it takes me back to that, like, what did you do for the last 3 minutes experience as a lawyer? So usually we're estimating how much time it takes, and that's what we bill. Most of the time, because we've been doing this for a while, we get it spot on. Sometimes it takes us more time. That's my bad, right? Like, if I tell you that this pen is going to cost you $2 and it takes me longer to make it, that's not your fault. It should still cost you $2. If I'm able to find efficiencies in there and it takes me a little bit shorter, then good on me, and I get to make a little bit more money. That's our basic philosophy to revenue and pricing.
Yeah, look, I think that's definitely the right way to look at it. And from an ideal client, so who are sort of your ideal clients? Obviously, you run lots of events over those 3 different types that you've mentioned, but who's sort of an ideal client for you guys?
So we think about our clients in 3 different categories, right? One is the clients that feed the business, and that ideal client is someone who's large, right? Events are an expensive endeavor, and there's a startup cost to them that everyone is going to incur, no matter if you want a top of the line version of the event or a bargain basement version. There's just a certain amount of work that has to go into them to show up and open that experience. In that world of clients that feed our business, we like clients that are design and brand savvy, someone who cares about what we care about and is going to react and engage with us on that level. If you're a client who doesn't care about your brand or isn't worried about what your public perception is, you're probably not a good fit for us, and that's okay. We just know that there are other companies out there that would be great for you, and there are other clients out there that would be great for us. The second kind of category of clients that we think about are clients that do good things in the world or things that we think are good. And those are usually not clients that we make a lot of money off of. Hopefully we don't lose too much, but they're clients that we believe in what they're doing. And so we try to support them with our time and our expertise and the skills that we can bring together in a way that no one else can. And the third category are clients that challenge us creatively. So we're doing a project for a client where we're producing their float in the San Francisco, California Gay Pride Parade. It's not something that we've ever done before, but it kind of falls into the second category. It's something that we believe in, equal and civil rights for LGBTQ people worldwide. But it's also letting us flex some creative muscles that we've not done before. So our whole office is working on that. To be honest, we lose money hand over fist on those kind of projects if you calculate the amount of time that people are putting into it. But it feeds our soul and feeds our creative juices, which allows us to be better at the work we're doing that feed the company and allow us to grow as artists and individuals and sleep well at night.
Excellent. And through this journey of building a fantastic business, what's sort of one key learning that sort of sticks out for you? So if you could, a lot of BLG listeners are either just about to leave corporate or have just left corporate. What's one key learning that you would love to share with them?
I guess from a running a company perspective, the thing I've learned is that not all clients are right for you. We, in our early days, I would produce a meeting in your office for 10 people for you. I was going to say the usual answer to that is not so PG, right? But I would do anything for anyone because I was desperate for work and just wanted this company to survive and grow. And part of that initial impulse to do anything for anyone served us well. But as we grew, I realized that it's okay to be selective with clients. And there are certain clients that aren't right for the way in which we work, and we're not right for certain clients. And that's not a value judgment on us or them. But the sooner you can figure that out, the better off you are. We've parted ways with clients at our decision, more so in the last couple of years than ever in the beginning of our company, because we came to the conclusion early on in working with them that our working styles are different. They value different things. They want something else from a relationship that we're not able to give in a way that's either allows us to live the life we want to live or is economically beneficial to both us and sustainable to them. So it's okay to say no to work. There's a lot of work out there, and other work will come your way, especially when you open yourself up to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think trust that instinct. I know for me, every time that I've had that instinct to say this is not the right client, I've still gone ahead, it's always backfired 100% of the time. So I think if you hear that instinct, just trust it. And I know it's really tight when you begin and you want cash flow and, everybody seems like a customer. But to your point, the more specific you get, the quicker you get, then it becomes like a snowball. It just keeps rolling. So the more success you have breeds other success. So I completely agree. And, if you fast forward to today, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in running this fantastic business today?
The one word I would say that encompasses our biggest challenge is scaling. We started out as like a one-person operation, and then we're a pop and pop shop. And then all of a sudden we had 2 and 4 and 6 and 12 and 14 employees. And the scaling of that from a operational perspective, there were 2 years in a row when we doubled in size, and they weren't huge numbers in terms of revenue. We doubled in size, and the numbers weren't huge, right? But the doubling still has the same effect on you, especially when you don't have that. You're not ready for it without an infrastructure to support it. Part and parcel with that is also, how do you scale your values and what's important to you when you go from where you know everyone, or it's just 3 or 4 people in an office, to it's right now we're at 14 and we have 4 open positions. So soon we'll be hitting 20, and that growth is just continuing. Being able to articulate and maintain a culture and values that are important to us, so that everyone signs on and is part of that, and you don't just grow out of that, has been a difficult challenge, but one that I think we've navigated pretty well.
Excellent. And I'm assuming you use I'm assuming that's 14 to 20 direct staff, but I'm assuming there's a lot of other people involved in your projects that aren't direct staff. Would that be right?
Yeah, at any given time, we likely have around 60 to 150 people working on projects that we're working on. So those I was talking about actual direct employees versus contractors and freelancers who are also working on our projects.
Yeah, and I think that's the trick as well. If you have got a core team, as you said, that's growing extensively, but you've also got people that are in touch and are involved with your brand also, and they may be for short periods of time. How do you ensure that they get the right values and culture? And if you think of, what's one thing that you've done successfully to help solve that key challenge?
We have 5 brand values that are clearly articulated and that we talk about all the time, and we use them whenever we are evaluating the work we've done or evaluating a candidate for a job, be it staff or as a contractor freelancer. We use them during employee reviews. We talk about them as ways in which we're pushing forward the value proposition that we have for our clients. We talk about them with potential clients and with our existing clients. And they've become really good keys for us to open doors within folks and have conversations about what's important to us. And they've also become shorthand within our team to talk about broader ideas that we think are important. And so when we talk about maniacal client focus, everyone in our office, most of the freelancers that we work with, our clients, all know that means that we're focused on what our clients' needs are in their brands and not just what's easy for me, right? That also means later nights. That also means harder work sometimes. And sometimes we'll laugh about that and be in the office at 9 o'clock at night and say, way to go, maniacal client focus. But we also know that it's the right thing and it's what's driving our business and what makes us unique. So those 5 brand values are things that we live and breathe and talk about every day, and don't just write on a piece of paper and then read them once a year at an annual meeting.
Well, I think that's a really powerful message. And I know that you had some excellent support from your uncle, which was great. But I know Shannon, who's your partner, if he's listening to the podcast when it goes live, and I hope he is, what would you like to say to him for the support he's given you as you've grown this great business?
First, I'd say thanks for joining me. I started this company in 2000, and he and I met in 2007, and he's been a part of the company since that, soon after we met. He's the chief creative officer of the company, and I'm the CEO. So the first thing I'd say is thanks for coming along on this journey. The second I'd say is I thought I was creative before I met you, and then I realized that I was just pretending. And the third thing I'd say is thanks for understanding when I say I'm going to be home for dinner in 20 minutes. I really probably mean 2 hours, because I get caught up on getting stuff done and trying to work on the business. And he's very lovingly accepting of that. which is great.
Excellent, excellent. So big shout out for Shannon. The next is the live section, and I used to ask about the perfect week, but I quickly realised, and even for myself, there's no such thing as a perfect week when you're running your own business, and certainly when you're running an event business, I'm assuming that's not the case. But what are some of the habits that you fit into your week that are really important and help drive success for you?
So from a business perspective, one of the things that we've instituted is a quick daily meeting with all of our team, no matter where you're at in the country or the world. At 9:17 on the East Coast, U.S. East Coast time, we have a meeting where everybody either shows up via phone or via Google Chat. And it's at 9:17 because it's very specific. If we had a 9:15 meeting, some people would show up at 9:10, some people would show up at 9:20, because 9:15 is a kind of, although it's specific, it's a round term that people kind of show up around. So literally on the downbeat of 9:17, we start this meeting. Everyone stands up. It can't last more than 13 minutes, so we're done by 9:30. And it's a little bit of a daily ritual. We talk about what our priorities are for the day. We talk about what needs or obstacles we have. And then it's a time for us to give shout outs or ask questions to other members of our team. So-and-so did a great job this week. We just did this great event. We just landed this new client. It can be a haul when you're on the West Coast and it's 6:17 in the morning, or when you're in Europe and it's in the middle of your day, but it's a daily ritual that brings everyone together. On a personal side, I try to make it home more often. And what more often means varies on the season and varies on what my schedule is. But instead of being on the road, traveling to projects and meet clients and potential clients for 2 and 3 and 4 week stints, I try to make it home at least, I try not to miss more than 1 weekend in a row. And that's to spend time with my husband and my dogs and sleep in my own bed and just have a little bit of time where I get to breathe a bit.
Excellent. Well, some great advice, and I love that the discipline of 9:17 EST each day. I think that's great. And the next section is about the give section. So is there a cause or a community that you're passionate about and you'd like to share with the BLG community?
Yeah. So Shannon, who you mentioned earlier, who's my husband and the chief creative officer of the company, also happens to have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. He was diagnosed a couple of weeks before we met. So we're coming up on 10 years of that. And so we do fundraising and volunteer work for the National MS Society here in the US and try to support their work in finding a cure for MS. We're also, Shannon and I are, and for the most part, people in our office, although it's not a requirement by any means, are on the liberal side of the political spectrum here in the US. And so we've done a lot of volunteer work, mainly volunteer production work for the Democratic Party, and the Ohio Democratic Party has been our main client in that. We've produced events with former President Clinton and President Barack Obama and other fundraising and party building events for the Democratic Party. And I think that will only continue in the future with the kind of turbulent political scene that's happening in the US right now. Those are two kind of main areas that we focus our volunteer or giving back work to. We also listen to and do work for causes that our employees are passionate about. And so that's ranged the spectrum from events and work for U.S. Jewish organizations to Black Lives Matter to organizations for pets and animal rights across the whole spectrum, because that's what our team is interested in and cares about. And so we care about that as well.
Brilliant. And look, the next section and the last section is the action section. So I'll just ask you some questions, and if you can just give some good actionable advice on each of them, that would be great. So the first one is around personal productivity. So what's a personal productivity tip you would love to give the BLG listeners?
I never go anywhere without a pen. It's actually usually a Sharpie, one of the fat ones, and a notebook. I've tried every form of electronic note-taking available on a computer and a tablet, and use the Apple Pen and use all this other stuff. And when it comes down to it, sometimes you just need to take a quick note. And so I have a little half US sheet notebook and a pen that goes with me everywhere.
Excellent. And on the technology side, so on your phone, what are some of the key apps that sit on your home screen for your phone?
On my actual home screen, the Google, I'm looking at it right now so I can tell you for sure, right? The Google suite of both Chrome and their Google Docs suite, we run our whole company on, or as much as we can, on the Google suite, and so they're all there. Podio is the data management kind of run all of our company through, so the Podio app is there. I have quite a few social media links, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger. I have Pandora to listen to music, Fly Delta because I'm flying Delta all the time, and I have the Apple Home app. Most of the lights in our house and in our office are Philips Hue lights. So if I ever want to turn a light on, I need my phone, which is kind of cool, and kind of sometimes I just wish I had a light switch I could flip. And the Apple clock to set my alarm every morning. That's what's on my home screen.
Excellent. Brilliant.
Oh, and the phone and the mail and the chat and the calendar, those are in the bottom. So I get those all the time.
Yeah, great. Excellent. And podcast or book, what's a couple of favorite either podcasts or books that you'd love to recommend, and why?
So clearly yours, like everyone should listen to it every day.
Thank you.
And of course, I'm finicky with books, or I guess I find a new lover every time I read a book. And right now I'm reading Extreme Leadership, which I'm really liking. And ultimately it's about taking responsibility as leaders. How well your team does is you're responsible for. You can't just say, well, Michael screwed it up and he didn't do what I told him to do. No, if he screwed it up, it's because you didn't give the right leadership. And so it's a lesson that it's good to be reminded of. And it's also, I think, a lesson that a lot of folks kind of in the middle ranks should take to heart as well. Your teams are only as good as the leadership that they have.
Brilliant. Well, I'll definitely put links to all of those fantastic books and also apps that you've recommended there, and also links to other, including the National MS Society, etc.
Awesome.
So, parting advice. So, this wonderful journey when you thought you were going to be a lawyer for life. A liar, sorry, that's terrible.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's what I did think. But you were going to go down that path. You haven't. You built a fantastic, brilliant company. I love that saying around being together matters. What's your parting advice for the BLG community?
Take the leap. It's not always going to be easy, but life isn't, right? And that's super cliche, but there are a lot of ways to live your life that don't fall neatly within the bounds of what your mother and father thought it should be in the 1940s, right? And I'm trying to be super cliche there. If you're doing something where you're passionate about it and there's a need for it in the world, you'll figure out a way to make a living. And it may not be in any way like what you think it's going to be when you first make the leap. Mine certainly isn't, but you'll be okay. And in the end, you'll be better than being stuck in the corporate job that you're killing your soul.
No, look, that's brilliant advice. And I know for me personally, that certainly proves what 6 years ago when I left corporate, I was very unhappy in corporate. Now I'm super happy and I am doing things different to what I thought, but I would not for 1 second turn back that clock. And there's going to be a roller coaster, and you've talked about some of the challenges in the roller coaster. It is a roller coaster, but it is a brilliant option. And I just love for my children that are coming through that there's more options these days than there's ever been to sort of run your own business. And I think it's a brilliant path to go down. I really Thank you for sharing your journey on that today. And finally, where can people find out more about you, Scott?
So you can find out about me through our company website, which is imcexperiences.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Great. And I'm assuming there's not too many Ihrigs on LinkedIn?
There are not. I'm the only one. I'm the only Scott Ihrig in Ohio in the U.S.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, it's been brilliant hearing more about your journey today. I just love your outlook on life and what you're doing to help touch many people in all those different communities that you support. So, we wish you every success and love having you as part of the BLG community.
Thanks, Paul. It's been great to talk to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you for listening to the Build, Live, Give show. If you found this show helpful, please share it with others so we can build businesses, live great lives, and give back to the community. If you would like to join the BLG community, go to our website, www.buildlivegive.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.